The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Gonna do the Richard Nixon double piece. How we doing on a Friday episode of Running Point? Thank you so much for coming in with us. TGIF, am I right? Thank God it's Friday, not the restaurant, but the day. We are here. We are live on Running Point, brought to you as always by our good friends. Pointing the right way. I'm getting a lot better at that. At Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. They go the extra mile for you. We try to do the same here on this show every single day. We want to thank I am tongue-tied today. We want to thank Greenwood Chevrolet for their constant support of Running Point since day one. They've been a presenting sponsor. A lot of twists and turns and changes to the show, obviously, through the years, but they've never stopped believing in what we can do, and we thank them every day for what they do for us. They go the extra mile for you. If you are in the market for a new or used vehicle, make sure to check out Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. We'll have more about them and share more about our great sponsor a little bit later on in the show. We got a lot for you. We have a lot today. We're going to recap last night's action like we always do. We'll go through the scores. We'll bring up the scoreboard brought to you by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. Man, I am just Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. We'll bring up the scoreboard brought to you by them. We'll talk about what happened last night, but then we have a lot of football to talk about tonight and tomorrow. It's Football Friday. We're going to dive into every game and give a little bit of a preview, and then we'll also lead into the Power Hour, right? Power Hour at 3 to 4, which is the big super show that we have every Friday where announcers come on, make game picks, and have a fun time talking about their games. So we're going to give you a little taste of that. We'll preview the games. Power Hour, we'll pick the games, and we'll have a fun time on a Friday before kickoff at 7 o'clock. Obviously, the Audible call will be live as well. Ignore these kind of links that you'll see in the comment section. Not going to bring it up, but there is one on the Facebook that you can probably see if you're watching on Facebook, and I always want to point out when I see it to ignore any of those links that say, watch the game live here. They're fake. They are scams. They're trying to get your money, whatever it may be. You don't have to pay to watch on YSN until playoff time. So no links outside of YSN. There's nowhere to watch almost all of these games outside of the YSN network. So make sure you're not falling for any of these scams that a lot of people like to put up on our links and on our stories and everything. It's like it's a robot spam. So they'll send it out. It'll probably hit everything that mentions a sport. Probably gets spammed with these kind of links. So just wanted to take the time out to say, don't fall for that. Don't be that person. All right. Let's hop into the scoreboard and recap the action from last night. See what was going on. We had volleyball. We had soccer. Let's quickly go through the scoreboard. Brought to you as always by our good friends over at Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. Summer is winding down, but if you're feeling like maybe next summer, hey, I want a pool, I want a hot tub, I want a spa, make sure to get out to Burnett Pools. Or if you need something for close in your pool or you need some accessories, they have you covered there as well. They're not just a place to buy a new pool, spas, and hot tubs. They have all the accessories you could ever need if you already have one. So Ysn Scoreboard, a great tool for everybody, all of our fans, and it's brought to you by Burnett Pools. We'll go into the scoreboard. Like I said, West Branch gets the win inside the EBC with a sweep over Carrollton in straight sets. Gerard got a little bit of a fight, and I told Phil Walters on Wednesday when I had his game, I said, you're gonna be in for a fight against Hubbard. They are a scrappy defense. They wear you down. They get a lot of balls up off the floor, but eventually Gerard's offense just too much. Bree Littell leading the charge like she usually does. They get the win over Hubbard in 4 sets. LeBray and Liberty. I was here. I was there for that game until it didn't happen. It was crazy. We're sitting there watching the JV warm up. Every light in the entire building goes off. It says boom. And I was told by the AD, who is out of the football field, that you could hear a loud explosion. Apparently a transformer really close to the school blew, and that cut off power to the whole school. They were able to get the lights back on in the gym. They played a JV game. I think they were trying to give it some time to come back on. But because of the power outage, they lost the sewage system. So they couldn't hold an event there for varsity. So after the JV game, right into warm-ups, the varsity teams didn't really even get on the court yet, and they made the announcement that the varsity game was going to have to be canceled due to the power outage in the school. That's never happened to me before. I've had some crazy stuff happen at games, but I've never been in the gym for a power outage, especially one where there's not a storm outside. I mean, it was beautiful. And you just have a transformer that blows. It's a fluke thing, I guess. Although I was told that it happened to Liberty about a month ago as well. So maybe not a fluke thing. Maybe Ohio Edison needs to clear that up. Who knows? But Liberty and LeBray varsity was canceled last night. They will reschedule that game. And when they do, it'll be varsity only because they did get the JV game in. Wyndham was able to go to Badger and put up a heck of a fight, but Badger gets to win 3-2 in 5, one of the more thrilling games that we had last night in the YSN family. East Palestine goes to Valley Christian and gets the sweep in the EOAC 3-0. Lakeview sweeps Poland in straight sets. Want to give a shout out to Mallory Mylock, who after viewing the tape and getting the stats completely shirt up, broke the program record for assists in a game. And when you have a setter following you like Maggie Pavlansky, if you break a record, then you're doing a good thing. She breaks the record for assists in a game ago, but they confirmed that with the stats the day after. So I wanted to give a shout out to Mallory for breaking the school record. That is the second school record that Lakeview has broken this year. Reagan Price earlier in the season broke the record for consecutive service points with 28 in a game. McDonald went and fell to Middle Ridge in straight sets, 3-0 the final score there. Niles fell to Struthers in straight sets. We go back to the top. Marlington took care of Salem in straight sets. Austintown, Fitch, and Canfield. Canfield won set 2, and it looked like, oh man, this is going to be a really good game. Fitch took care of business in sets 2 and 3, though. Always liable to not go 3 sets when you're talking about Canfield and Fitch. These two teams get fired up to play each other. They don't like each other in the sense of they don't want to be beaten by the other one. They have respect for each other, but they definitely it's a big rivalry in volleyball. So you kind of knew that Canfield was going to have a lot of fight. They won set 2, but Fitch kind of put it in overdrive, and they are still undefeated, 8-0 on the season. Big test next for Fitch on Saturday, tomorrow, as they go to Crestview. We have Waterloo winning in Louisville by 5 sets. That's another exciting game for us. 3-2 there. Campbell gets a sweep over Brookfield. This was interesting because Brookfield's Kaylee Wellman had 9 blocks on the night, and it's not too often that you see an offense get blocked 9 times and still dominate their way to a sweep. The closest set was 25-17, if I remember right. So that's pretty impressive to see Camel sweep Brookfield despite getting blocked as much as they did. Kaylee Wellman's a really good middle blocker. She's racking up those numbers. Garfield sweeps Newton Falls in straight sets, 3-0. United sweeps Latonia in straight sets, 3-0. Warren JFK falls to Rootstown after winning the first set and 4. 3-1. They couldn't hold on. Howland sweeps Warren Harding in straight sets. We go back up to the top. Crestview continues to dominate inside the MVAC, a straight set winner with a sweep. They have not lost a set inside the conference in over a whole season. Last time they lost a set in the MVAC was 2 seasons ago when Brookfield lost to them in 4 sets. Cardinal Mooney, they went into Boardman but got a little bit of a reality check as the Spartans bounced them in the straight sets 3-0. Wellsville beats Southern 3-0, so Wellsville kind of puts a damper on Southern's hopes for an EOAC championship. The way it's looking now, unless Columbiana and Wellsville both falter or get surprised by someone down the road, don't think that'll happen. But Wellsville, Columbiana, both still undefeated, both still yet to play each other. That's going to be a really good one when those two teams square off soon. Speaking of Columbiana, they were not their score was not reported. Ursuline sweeps Heartland Christian 3-0. St. John sweeps Matthews 3-0. Western Reserve, they sweep Springfield in straight sets. And then Mohawk and Elwood City not reported for their stats, but that is the first week of the season for Mohawk as PA volleyball opens this week. We'll go to the last column over here. Check out the soccer scores. Howland, way too much for Boardman on the boys' side. 6-0, they get the win. Soccer-wise, Canfield destroys Crestview, 9-0, the final score there. You have Austintown Fitch beating Warren Harding 5-1. Ursuline gets the close loss over Hubbard 2-1. And then a tight one in Poland as Lakeview and the Bulldogs tie at 2. Beaver Local Girls got the edge win over St. Clairsville 2-1. So those are your scores from last night. Volleyball and soccer will be back in action tomorrow with a lot of fun, interesting games. We'll talk about that after we obviously break down the whole weekend of football because it is Football Friday. And as we know, football runs the world. So let's get into tonight's scoreboard without further ado. Let's go to September 8th on the scoreboard. YSN scoreboard brought to you by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. Off the jump, you see the Battle of 224. That's the big one, Poland versus Canfield. In Poland, Poland has looked dominant all season long. Canfield desperately needs a win. They're going to be a very hungry team. They're going to probably throw the kitchen sink at Poland and make sure that they don't go 1-3. A very interesting matchup between the Cards and the Bulldogs as the Battle of 224. I'm interested to see this one. I really am. Like I said, Canfield needs a win bad. They really do need a win. They're 1-2. They're trying to get confidence. They're trying to get morale. And it's going to be tougher than probably any of these games have been in the last 4 or 5 years for Canfield versus Poland. They've definitely dominated the series of late. And this is not a game where they're going to get someone sleeping or they're going to get someone intimidated. This is a rivalry game, of course, which means Poland is going to bring their absolute best. They're going to want to beat Canfield just as much as Canfield wants to beat them. So you're not going to get anything less than Poland's best. So if Canfield is going to walk into this game thinking they might earn a couple of mistakes or a couple of laziness plays from Poland, I would highly doubt it. This is going to be a game that if Canfield wins, they're going to have to just be the better team. I think on paper, pretty even. I know Canfield's dealing with some injuries, of course, but they're both very physical. In the past, Poland's run game has struggled with the line on the other side for Canfield. So obviously for the Cardinals, it's going to come down to run defense. Can they stop the run? In Poland, it's the opposite. Can they establish the run? And we're going to have to see which one of those forces bends to the other will. It's going to be a very fun one in Poland. Can't wait for that. We'll go down the line. Champion goes to Brookfield. Brookfield with the impressive win the week ago to bring some confidence in the MVAC play. They're 1-2, champion 0-3. They played a lot better in week 3 though, so both these teams a little bit on the rise as they open up conference play. And I'm kind of sneaky interested in this one too. It might not be teams that are doing great record wise, but two teams that really need wins to go on in the season. I don't think champion really ever wants to go. No one ever wants to go 0-4, but Brookfield doesn't want to stem that momentum that they were able to get last week. The Conneaut Spartans, who are under the radar, not talked about a lot, but they are really playing good football this year. They will go to Chagrin Falls, and they were on the road last week and got a big win, so we'll see if they can do it again. The rivalry, East Liverpool Beaver Local. This is, I think, the marquee game on the network, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are going to talk about the Battle of 224. There are other really good games that you'll see us talk about today. But this is undefeated East Liverpool against 2-1 Beaver Local. Yes, the Beavers stubbed their toe in week 1, but they have bounced back emphatically. Their offense looks really good. Austin Klein is doing as good as you ever expected him to do, coming back for his 3rd season under center for Brookfield, for Beaver Local. And East Liverpool just looks rejuvenated. They look rejuvenated. They look like they buy in completely to what Paul Cusick is saying. And their running game is really, really good, but they're also setting up pass from the run. They're running beautiful play action plays because their run game is doing so well. They had a slow start last week, but then they really kicked it into high gear in their win. So I think that's the one issue that the Potters probably worked on the most this week. You can't have a slow start in a rivalry game. You just can't do it. You can't let, especially in Beaver Local, you can't let that home crowd feed into the rivalry and let Beaver Local get a fast start. You have to get a fast start in this game. You cannot start slow like you did a week ago. You will not be able, or I should say, you probably won't be able. Never say never, but you probably won't be able to recover from a slow start in this one, especially on the road in such a big game for both communities. Red versus blue. It doesn't get any better than that, and a lot of people would argue that it's the best rivalry in the Ysn family. That argument is up for debate. I know there's a lot of big rivalries, Mooney Ursuline, obviously, South Range Springfield, etc., etc., etc. But a lot of people in that community will argue that it is the fiercest rivalry in the area. And I know there are people that, like, I've heard stories that they'll refuse to send their kids to the other school. They might be in the other school's district, but it's like, we're not going to East Liverpool, or we're not going to Beaver Local. Definitely been one of those. Chris Sigler could actually give a lot about this rivalry. He knows it better than almost anyone. Maybe not better than Mike McKenzie, who will be on the call tonight, but a lot of people in the Ysn family understand how big of a game this is, and I think it's the marquee game on the network, to be honest, in my opinion. Edgewood, they are 3-0. You had to start talking about the Warriors. They have absolutely destroyed everyone they've played so far, and they will go to Hawken, not the town from Stranger Things. Hopefully no Demogorgons pop in tonight, but they will play, and they will be on the road again. But they have beaten teams by a combined total of, I want to do the math to do it justice real quick. I'm going to do the math on the calculator. Hang on with me real quick. They had 58, they had 55, and they had 48. 161-18 is the tally, to my count, from Edgewood versus the World so far. So, Hawk, and God love you, you have a big hill to climb against the Warriors. I know you're home, and you might have home field advantage. That might give you, 10 points? You're going to need a lot more than that, the way Edgewood's rolling. Warriors look to go 4-0 on the season. Garrettsville Garfield also looking to stay undefeated, and they will play an up-and-down LeBray team. We've seen them look really good. We've seen them look not so good. So I think this game's going to be what LeBray team shows up. I mean, there's no other way to put it. LeBray looked really emphatically good against Valley Christian. They didn't look as good last week. So you kind of have one of those hit and miss teams. You have some of them every year. You have some teams that just can't find it consistently every year. But if LeBray shows up and plays the way they did against Valley Christian, then this could be a big storyline. If not, then I think Garrettsville Garfield could roll in this one. We'll have to see which way that one flies. Grand Valley will go to Beechwood this week as they take on the Buffaloes, I think. Beechwood Buffalo. I could be wrong. They have that Bills logo. I'm going to guess Buffaloes. Howland will go to Boardman tonight in the quote-unquote AAC, even though that doesn't exist in high school football. They're both independents technically, but they're playing very common opponents, and that will be a big one for Howland as they try to go. Both teams actually try to get win number one. I think Boardman might have a little bit of an edge, but both teams are on an uptrend. I said this about some other games too. You see, even the teams that are 0-3, most of them are starting to play a lot better in week 3 than they did in week 1. So you're seeing a lot of teams use the first 3 weeks of what they're for, and gearing up for conference play and trying to play your best football weeks 5 through 10 and see where the chips lie from there. And Howland played a lot better last week, only lost by 14 and was really close into the fourth quarter against Hubbard. And Boardman has been playing well but not winning in weeks 2 and 3. So they had really good defense in week 3. They had really good offense in week 2. Can the Spartans put it all together in one cohesive effort? We'll definitely check that out tonight. I think that could be a sneaky good game as well. Hubbard goes to Niles tonight, opening day for NEA play, which is so exciting because all these teams have looked really, really good the first 3 weeks of the season. I think everybody in the NEA is above 500, if I'm not mistaken. So this is when they beat each other up. This is the SEC, if you will, of high school football in the area. They're all good. They're all going to play each other. They're all going to beat each other up. Who comes out on top? Hubbard, we've seen them win in vastly different ways. They can win a defensive battle, but we've also seen them put up points. So I like teams that can win in different ways. They have to go on the road. They have to deal with Antoine Brown, who's one of the best running backs in the family. So it's going to be really fun to watch those two square off in the conference opener. Jackson Milton, though, will go to go to Middle Ridge. Middle Ridge. One of those, even though they're number 3 in our power rankings, which is completely computer-based, still not talked about a lot. The Rams are playing really, really well. Ian Erb is a superstar, and he will be noticed as one. He will continue to be talked about on this show. I promise you that. Even if he's not talked about on any other media outlet, he will absolutely be talked about on this show, and I promise you that because he is a superstar, and he's playing really, really well right now for Middle Ridge. That's going to be a good game. Jackson Milton has definitely been soaring high the last 2 weeks. Their offense has been looking unstoppable, and Middle Ridge is a physical team. So I'm very excited to see how that one goes. Jefferson to Perry. Perry's one of the quote-unquote favorites in Division 5. A lot of people think that Perry has a chance to win the region. South Range will definitely have something to say about that, but Perry's a team that gave South Range a little bit of a fight last year. They didn't lose too much, so the mountain is going to be really, really big to climb for Jefferson as they go to Perry tonight. But anything is possible, especially for our YSN teams. Go Jefferson. Lisbon goes to East Palestine. Lisbon, little bit shaky last week. They got their first loss of the year. Palestine played well, was right there, was competitive, lost by 7, 3 hours on the road. So I like what both these teams are doing. They're both kind of rejuvenating their program a little bit. Lisbon has had the results. Maybe East Palestine can pick up a result tonight. We'll have to see. EOAC opener in Palestine. Newton Falls travels to Camel. As Camel, they have played, once again, a team that has played well. They just haven't fallen on the right side of the fence yet. In weeks 2 and 3, they won in week 1, of course. But this is a big opportunity for Camel to pick up a win. I think on paper they're the more consistent team. Newton Falls got that 12-7 sloppy win over Matthews, where neither team was playing great, but Newton Falls, props to the Tigers, they came up with the game-winning plays down the stretch, which some teams just struggle to do this year. So Newton Falls, they want to keep it close. Camel, I think if they run away with it and use their athleticism, they can turn this into a race that I don't think Newton Falls wants any part of. But we'll see which way that game goes. Newton Falls, I say to win, has to keep Camel under 21 points. That's my prediction. I will be really shocked if Camel scores more than 21 and wins. Salem goes to Canton Central Catholic. EBC is a little smaller, so that's why you see these schools have some non-conference games mixed in. We go to Southern as they travel to Wellsville, a big game in the EOAC. Southern looking really angry after their week 1 loss. They looked unstoppable in weeks 2 and 3. So we'll see what they can do going to the Tigers Den in Wellsville. Another big test for Austintown Fitch, but when is that never true? Fitch will welcome in St. Ignatius as they are 2-1 on the season, looking to win again. They won emphatically last week. The Falcons did. Back up to the top, Gerard and Struthers. This one, I'm very interested. Very interested. Gerard with a little bit of a shocker last week, losing to West Branch. I think a lot of people picked them for that game. A lot of people thought they were the heavy favorites, but their speed was not enough. They beat themselves. I think the coaching staff would come in. Coach Pearson would come into this film session for Gerard this week, and he's going to say, guys, we turned the ball over 5 times. Like, we can't do that, and we still only lost by 9 points. So really, if they take out the mistakes and don't shoot themselves in the foot, they also had 12 penalties for over 100 yards of penalty yardage last week. So their motto this year has to be discipline. It just has to be. They cannot afford to shoot themselves in the foot against really good teams. Struthers will absolutely take advantage, and Struthers can turn over a lot of teams. They had, I think, if not the most turnovers forced last year on defense, they definitely were up there. They are ball hawks on defense. They will go after the ball. So Gerard, ball security has to be very important for them this week against Struthers. When you're looking at the offenses, I think they're a little bit different. Gerard is kind of like the unicorn in the 88 because everyone else is one that likes to establish the run, likes to be super physical. And Gerard is a team that really likes to spread you out and really likes to use their speed. They have track stars all over the field for Gerard. So I think this is why I'm so interested in Gerard in the 88 play, because they're going to be going up against teams that don't play the style of football they do. And for that 1 week, their opponents are going to have to drastically change the way they scout teams and the way they practice, because all of a sudden you're playing a team that really wants to use their speed. They really want to spread you out. They really want to get to the outside. And against every other team in the 88, you're gonna be more focused on their run, setting up their pass. But Gerard, not that story. They love the spread. So we'll see what Gerard can do with that really fast offense. They scored in a hurry against West Branch, and they almost overcame 5 turnovers because of how much their offense can score and how fast they can score. I think this is an interesting one too. I think United and Columbiana. Columbiana's been right there. They could be 2-1. They are probably a couple plays away from being 2-1. They're 0-3 though. You could argue Columbiana may be the best 0-3 team in the Ysn family, if that means anything. I'm sure it doesn't to Coach Spate. He does not believe in moral victories at all. He will always judge his team based on the win-loss record. But when you're looking at how you can go forward from that, I think one of the things you can see out of this Columbiana team is the pieces are there. Keon Hartley, probably not talked about as much as he should. He's their all-star running back. He's put together a really good season already with 3 weeks under his belt. He's running really well. This Columbiana team, like a lot of teams in the EOAC, they're physical. And I think United is kind of like the Gerard of the 88 because they're a team that is more athletic, more speed savvy. They have a lot of athletes on the outside. And although they like to be physical, they like to run for sure. They also like to put the ball in Luke Courtney's hand and let him fly and let him go. So United is kind of like that outlier in the EOAC, which is known for just smash mouth, physical, nose grind football. United is out here like, hey, we'll take that physicality that you bring to the defense and we'll make you run and we'll wear you out. So very interested to see. I think if the start of this game is going to be very, very apparent on how it's going to go. I think if United gets out to a fast start and lets that offense roll, then they could run away with it. But if Columbiana can slow the game down, be physical, make United make long drives. Don't let them have those big plays. You'd love United to have to go 12, 13 plays down the field because the more times teams like that have to, snap the ball, the more chances you get of them making a mistake. And then the other thing I want to say about this game real quick, Columbiana, word of warning, if you get ahead, you're not ahead by enough. United's offense can score in a hurry, just like Gerard's can. And I think the worst thing that could happen for team morale right now is for Columbiana to get a big lead and then have it washed away with really fast offensive strikes from United. So I plead you, if you're a Columbiana fan or a Columbiana football player or anyone from Columbiana listening, don't sleep when you're up by a lot if you get a big lead tonight, because I'll tell you what, United is built to come back in games. Ursuline goes to East as a Youngstown matchup there. Irish are looking to continue their strong season. Springfield opens up MVAC play against Waterloo. How about this? South Range going to Lakeview. This is usually one that you just pass right over, but all of a sudden Lakeview 3-0, South Range 2-1. You start to think, is Lakeview a team that can give South Range some issues? They're definitely a team that started 3-0 last year and then struggled in the conference. They know the NE8 is a different beast. But here we are again with a 3-0 Lakeview team going into conference play. This time they get South Range at home in Cortland. This is going to be, I think we're going to learn a lot more about Lakeview tonight than we're going to learn about South Range. If South Range dominates and runs over the Bulldogs, and on it, like, I don't want to sound crass or anything, but that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to go in and beat the NE8 teams. That's what they've been doing for years. But if Lakeview gives them a game, then you start to see, like, okay, this Lakeview team's a little bit different than the Lakeview team last year. And then if they win, I mean, my word, that would be probably the biggest win in their program history to this point. So a big opportunity for Lakeview to, one, win. That's the first thing. They want to win, definitely. But they're also a big opportunity just to tell people, like, we are not last year's team. We're not going to fold after a 3-0 start. We are going to believe in each other. They're returning a lot of people from last year. So I think Lakeview is going to learn the lessons that they learned in NE8 play last year when they had so much momentum going in. And they were definitely a better football team last year than they were the season prior. They made a lot of improvements. So we'll see if Lakeview can take the next step and compete in the NE8. They have a big test against the league favorite South Range tonight at home. Battle of the Blue Devils. This is another one I don't think enough people are talking about. McDonald versus Western Reserve. This is going to be a grudge match. Both these teams, they're hard-nosed. They're old-school football, especially McDonald. And I was talking to their AD last week, and I asked him what was so special about this football team. What is letting them succeed so much? And he said simply, Josh Crumpack, he said simply, they're a group of guys right now that just believe in each other. They're playing as a unit. They believe that the other person's going to do their job. He was telling me that in years past, guys would just get out of their lane, for lack of a better term, because they didn't have that unshakable trust that their teammate was going to do their job, and that got them into trouble. When you get outside of your lane in football and you don't do your assignment because you're worried about maybe your teammate's not getting his assignment done, that leads to more mistakes than not. So this McDonald team just absolutely unified. They believe in each other. They obviously believe in what Coach Williams is preaching, because he's been there, done that. He knows how to get a team together. But Western Reserve looks pretty good. They have also proven that they can win some close games. So I'm excited to see how this one goes. Obviously, McDonald won a close one in week 1. They blew out their next 2 opponents. Western Reserve, they won a really close one against Conneaut. So both teams have proven they can make plays down the stretch. I think that's why this is going to be a really good game, because if it gets in the fourth quarter and it's close, you can't say, well, this team has the advantage because they've made game-winning plays this year and the other team hasn't, because both teams have made game-winning plays in close game situations this year. They've both proven they can. So I think Zajac is the player to watch for me for McDonald, and then obviously Luke Henning is having an amazing year for Western Reserve. So those are the 2 players to watch in this game. I think it's one of the best ones on the network. I will be watching it with the audible call very, very closely. Valley Christian, they go to Latonia tonight. They're trying to build some momentum and repeat as EOAC champions. Crestview goes to Liberty. Both teams need a win pretty bad, so maybe not the results best game of the week as far as record based, but definitely I think evenly matched teams that both need a win So this could be a very competitive game, nonetheless. Let's scroll over to the last row. And see what we got over there. We have West Branch going to Ridgewood. This one, for those of you that don't know, Ridgewood is undefeated. They're 3-0 right now. So after a big test against Girard, West Branch has another way of testing themselves. Going on the road, Ridgewood, not a close drive at all. So it's a little bit of a trek. And West Branch with another opportunity to show people what they're about. I have always been high on West Branch this year, even after they lost to Canfield in week 1. I watched that game. I told people, I said, hey, it's the fourth quarter. They were close for 3 quarters. They came back from Canfield's fast start. They swallowed that. They bounced back from it. They just had a bad fourth quarter. So I didn't judge them too hard on the loss to Canfield. And then they rolled in week 2. They went and they beat undefeated Girard in week 3. Bo Alisas went off, and Joey Jackson broke records. So Judah Shields was fantastic, and a lot of people were panicking because they lost Judah Shields, and what are they going to do at quarterback after losing such a good one? Fantastic player. But I've kept telling you, like, Bo Alisas is kind of in the same position that Drew was a couple years ago when they were trying to replace Brock Hilliard. He was a great quarterback for West Branch, and people didn't know, outside of the program, people didn't know what Judah Shields was going to bring to the team. Drew knew, and the West Branch coaches knew, but no one else knew. And I'm telling you, I think it's the same situation. I think people overlooked Bo Alisas as an athlete, and I think this is his swan song. He's saying, hey, I know how good I am. I'm going to show you. And he has played really, really well this season, especially last week against the Girard team where they needed every ounce of that offense. We'll see if he can continue his role against undefeated Ridgewood. Going to be a fun one on the road for West Branch. Cheney and Marlington squaring off tonight. I think this will be a good one as well. Marlington on the rise as a football program. They struggled the last couple of years, but they have looked a little bit more impressive in their first 3 weeks of the season. And Cheney coming off of the 21-13 win over Boardman, where they made enough plays, and they also played extremely good defense against the Spartans, who proved they can score the week prior. So I'm really excited to see what Cheney's defense does to continue that momentum into this Marlington game. Cardinal Mooney goes to Ashland University, a big, kind of a big track for the Cardinals. They will play Clyde, and I think Clyde has one of the coolest logos ever. I love that jet, and I think we've played a playoff game at Clyde, and I believe their stadium at Clyde was awesome too. But they're not playing at Clyde; they're playing at Ashland University, and this should be a fun one for Mooney. They've been close against really good teams. They haven't been able to get that emphatic win yet, so they're trying to go on the road today and get that eye-opening win against Clyde on the road. How about Lakeside going to Orange? Orange, another team, 2-1. They were struggling last year. They've built a really good program this year, and they're on a roll. And they have Lakeside coming in that is going to be mad because they got blown out last week. They probably have been just chomping at the bit to just get back out on the football field. Anytime you get beaten 55-0, you just want to get back on the field as quickly as possible. And you want to try to do everything you can to not have that feeling ever again. So this Lakeside team is going to be very motivated to go out there and just make sure that they never feel the way they felt last week ever again. They have looked good the first 2 weeks of the season too. They didn't look good last week, but no one really does look good against Ursuline usually. So we'll see what Lakeside and Orange has in store. I think this is going to be a good game. I'm loving this week 4 schedule. I just love these matchups. I think there's going to be a lot of competitive games. I think our blowouts are going to be down. I could be wrong, but I think our blowouts are going to be down. Maybe, we'll have to see in the scoreboard show brought to you by Joe Dickey Electric with Mike Alkelson. But we might have less blowouts this week than we've had in any of the first 3 weeks because I think a lot of these matchups are just really tight, really good looking games. Edison is going to be hosting Oak Glen. Edison not talked about, but they're undefeated. So props to the Wildcats for having a great season so far. They'll try to continue it against Oak Glen tonight at home. We have Pymatuning Valley. They are traveling to Rootstown. Now, Rootstown is a very good football team, and this is another matchup, not the only one of the week, but another one where it's two very conflicting styles of football. Rootstown, not the biggest team in the world. Pymatuning Valley is one of the bigger small schools that you'll see as far as size on the offensive line, size on the line. So I think Pymatuning Valley is going to go down there, try to just impose their will, but the skill positions, you might give the edge to Rootstown. They have really good skill position players. They're a talented team, but the line play, I think size-wise especially, is going to be heavily leaned towards Pymatuning Valley. So what side of that game gets more of the leverage? Does the talent on the playmaking side lean towards Rootstown, or is Pymatuning Valley going to be able to go and just impose their will, especially on the line in the trenches? Usually in football, teams that win the battle in the line win the game. I don't care how fast the other team is or how athletic the other team is. Usually, if you win the line of scrimmage battle, more times than not, you win. In high school, sometimes you don't, because sometimes the athletic kids can go and just make a play, and then all of a sudden maybe they get one of your defenders that's not on the line, your linebacker or safety, to miss, and then these kids make mistakes in the secondary a lot more than maybe you see in college and pros, obviously. So, a quarterback escapes once and they find a receiver that broke loose in the secondary. That kind of thing can happen more often in high school for sure than college and pros. But usually, still more times than not, you have the line of scrimmage, you're going to win the game. So, very interested to see how the Lakers fare against Rootstown. Lowville traveling to Matthews tonight. Matthews only scored 7 points against Newton Falls. I don't think this is going to get any easier against Lowville. This could be a game where the Rockets have it secured pretty dang quickly. I'm going to say takeoff is good to go in Matthews tonight at 7 o'clock. And then last but not least, we have Wyndham not going to New Orleans, despite what that logo looks like. They're going to, Tuscarora Central Catholic. I'm just going to call them Tusky CC. Wyndham trying to just find some positivity. They have been reeling, trying to find their identity. They lost so many seniors last year that were important to their football team, but especially Jake I, the quarterback. He meant the world to the Bombers last year, and just trying to find an identity without their skill position players and what they're good at. Wyndham has struggled to do that so far, but there's plenty of time to figure it out, and they have a really good football coach that I'm sure is putting in extra work to help his boys figure that out and help grow the identity of the program and see where they're going forward. So those are your games for Friday. What we're going to do is we're going to take our break. We're going to say hi to our sponsors. When we come back, we'll glance at Saturday real quick and see what's going on Saturday. And then we'll come back to Friday's scoreboard, and we will show you what games will be on the network and what announcers you'll be able to listen to and watch tonight on ysnlive.com. So we'll do that when we come back on this Running Point, this Friday episode, football-heavy episode of Running Point, brought to you as always by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Back in a bit.
Now you can see every school, to the smallest school, to the intermediate schools, to the schools in the outlying areas. It gives you coverage that you could just never get to before. It's something that's great to experience, and it's opened up a whole new wave of sports viewership. The possibilities are endless here at YSN. Push the envelope every day. Try something new. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, let's try another angle, and we just keep moving forward. My name is Mike Ackelson, and my sports network is your sports network.
What can you do on over 5,000 acres? At Mill Creek Metro Parks, you can discover unique habitats and wildlife, Create memorable family moments. Experience history, heritage, and park programs. Explore scenic landscapes. Take time to relax and be well. Connect with nature and each other. Come see what's new at Mill Creek Metro Parks. Plan your trip now at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means taking care of our local customers.
And it's just a great feeling to put them in a vehicle and get them all excited about a new vehicle.
At the end of the day, our goal is to be someone our customers can count on.
And every day I'll go the extra mile for the community so they can trust us.
To do anything that would convenience the customer or make them feel more at home.
Realizing, number one, that we're here for them and that we're not going to go away.
That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Sorry about that, but we are back at Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you, as always, by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. The people you literally just heard from in that commercial break, they go the extra mile for you, so you don't have to. We try to do the same here on this show every single day, and we thank Greenwood Chevrolet for their constant support and sponsorship of this show since day one. We couldn't do without them, and we try to do what they do and go the extra mile for you. So let's go into the scoreboard again. We went over all the games that are going to be happening tonight. I gave you my thoughts on some of them. Want to remind you that picks for YSN, we'll have a Friday Super Show on the Power Hour, and with DJ Oakley, and our announcers will come on as well, talk about these great matchups, and you'll get picks from those guys as well. So they do a great job getting you even more ready for Friday night football. I'm just kind of previewing them. I don't want to pick these games. That's too much pressure on Anthony, right? So let's go into Saturday real quick. We'll go over Saturday's games, and then we'll come back to Friday, and I'll let you know what games will be on the network and who is going to be where, so you know what announcers you'll be getting for football tonight. We do have St. John football looking to go 2 wins in a row as they go to Steubenville Central Catholic, They go to Steubenville Central Catholic tomorrow, and we also have Hoban hosting Akron East tomorrow. Hoban is undefeated, and they have looked nothing short of fantastic. Akron East, best of luck to you, but the way these games have gone, I don't have too much confidence in you. No offense. Excuse me. We have volleyball tomorrow, a big slate of Saturday volleyball, actually. Hoban will host Highland, and we have West Branch hosting a tri-match with East Liverpool and Crestwood. We have Edison. They will go and they will host Sandy Valley. We have United going to Heartland Christian in volleyball. Waterloo will be at Valley Christian. A big one in Crestview as Fitch comes to town. 2 undefeated teams. Someone's taken their first loss of the season. Fitch swept Crestview a year ago. Crestview gets them in their home gym this time around. Badger goes to Brookfield in volleyball. Obviously, Crestwood plays West Branch in the final game of that tri-match. We have Euclid going to Orange. Grand Valley going to Conneaut. McDonald going to Lakeview. Revere will go to Struthers. And Minerva will go to Edison, as they both play in a tri-match in Edison as well tomorrow in volleyball. Boys soccer, just one game on the slate tomorrow. Boardman at West Branch. That game is set for a 5 o'clock kickoff in Beloit. And then the girls soccer scene tomorrow. Real quick, we have 3 games. Lakeside will go to Orange. That's going to be the same matchup as the football team. Maslin Perry comes to Fitch. That is going to be a 11 a.m. kickoff. Boardman girls travel to Crestview, and that is a 1 p.m. kickoff. So some early afternoon soccer, some early morning volleyball, and then you cap it off with some late night football with St. John and Hoban both in action. So let's go back to Friday real quick, and let me run down the announcers that you'll be able to hear from tonight and what games will be on the network. There are some games that are away at non-YSN schools that we were denied access to. But other than that, we should have a full slate. I believe 24 games on the network tonight, which is way more than you'll find anywhere else. Canfield at Poland. The students at Poland will take care of you. They had a great broadcast last week, and they continue their success, and we thank them for their time. They'll have you covered for Canfield at Poland. 7 o'clock is your kickoff, of course. Champion at Brookfield, CJ Bacco, going to be on the call there. You're going to have WOW TV at the Conneaut at Chagrin Falls game. We will share that link to you on the live games page, so you can still find it at ysnlive.com/live. East Liverpool at Beaver Local, you'll have Mike McKenzie and Gary Burton both on the call there. A big game, a big rivalry game, and you wouldn't expect anybody but Mike McNuggies on the call there. Edgewood will travel to Hawken, and we'll have Mike Olachuk and Larry Jennings, our Edgewood team, making the trip with them. They are good to go, so they'll have that one covered. We will have Garrettsville Garfield at LeBray. Dom O'Brien will have that one covered for you. Tyler Hartz and the Grand Valley students are both going to be traveling to Beechwood with Grand Valley to get that game for you. Donnie Riccatelli and Don Mascola will going to be on the call for Howland and Boardman. That is a very characteristic broadcast. If you've never listened into a Boardman game at home, especially, you don't want to miss it. It's always fun. We go to Jamie Thompson and Zach Svensson, who will be on the call for Hubbard at Niles. Steve Hodge and Tom Otto will be on the call for Jackson Milton and Middle Ridge. Sam Torres, the 440 and Gold crew, are going to be at Jefferson and Perry. We have Tim and Dan Figley going to do the Lisbon and East Palestine game. Nate DeCross and Quinn Pushkar going to be at Camel Memorial for Newton Falls and Camel. Matt Mowry and Tara Niederheiser, the Salem crew, making the trip with Salem to Canton Central Catholic for that game. Gary Altizer and Jason are going to be in Wellsville as Southern comes to town, so that game will be covered. St. Ignatius at Austintown Fitch. No surprise here. Ty Bartell will be on the call. Mr. Fitch, Mr. Voice of the Falcons, he'll be there at 7 o'clock for your start time against St. Ignatius. Matt Marr and Jordan Barber are going to be on the call for Struthers at Girard. And Eric Hop are going to be on the call for United at Columbiana. Tim Corso and Julian Johnson going to be on the call as Ursuline travels to East. Noah Doty and CJ Schroeds to have you taken care of for Waterloo at Springfield. Chris Colucci will be traveling with South Range as they go to Lakeview, and he'll be on the call by himself there. Eric Hughes is a one-man crew at McDonald. He'll have you covered for Western Reserve coming to town, the Battle of the Blue Devils. Valley Christian at Latonia, DJ Yoakley going outside of South Range to get that EUAC matchup in Latonia. He'll be on the call there. 7 o'clock start time. Chris Sigler is going to be in Liberty as Crestview goes to Liberty tonight. And then we will also have the schools broadcast for Lakeside at Orange as well. Unfortunately, we were denied access to Matthews and Tuskegee Central Catholic, so we will not be at those games. The Warren JFK at Perkins game has been canceled, so that game will not be on the network either. We go to Saturday real quick, and it will be once again 2 football games at 3 and 7, so back-to-back. Get your fill. Sam Torres will be at Steubenville Central Catholic as St. John makes the trip there. DJ Yoakley going to Hoban for their matchup with Akron East. Volleyball on the network tomorrow. Ty Bartell will be in Hoban in the morning. 10 a.m. start time against Howland. I will be in Crestview for Austintown Fitch coming to town. And then Wellsville and Brook will be called by Gary Altizer. He'll have the crew there. Orange Volleyball will be on the network tomorrow. That'll be the school broadcasting that, so make sure Lions fans tune into that. They will also be broadcasting the Lakeside Orange girls soccer game tomorrow as well. So that's everything that you're going to have on the network as far as the weekend goes. Make sure to tune in. ysnlive.com/live is where you can find it. All that good stuff for you. We want to thank you so much for tuning in to Running Point today. That's going to be the end of the show. We will be back on Monday to recap everything that happens on the weekend. It's always a fun show on Monday because you got a lot to go over. So Monday's going to be a big recap day. Make sure to tune in on Monday from 1 to 2 here on Running Point. We'll also, as always, have an interview for you. We always love to highlight local players, so we'll have an interview in the can for you on Monday on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Enjoy the game.